Okay, guys, so now we're going to get into our shin pinning passing section. So from here, we have two different methods that we're going to look at. We're going to look at a back step method, and we're also going to look at a shuffle method. So the back step method is a little bit more traditional rather than the shuffle method. You know, you're going to have to proceed with an extra step, but I do find the shuffle method being far more efficient. But we are going to be looking at both, okay? So the way that we're going to set up the shin pinning is off of him extending me up. The shin pinning is going to come from when I have a hand behind his back. I don't necessarily, when I have a hand behind my training partner's back, I don't necessarily like the body lock while he's flat. A couple of reasons. No, number one, stiff arms, and number two, I can find it far difficult getting over his knees if he's skillful. So when we go to body lock, we like doing so from the sweet spot, but we'll take a look at that here in a second because we'll make a discussion about that. But for this section alone is when he goes to extend me up from this play, I pummel in and I reset my training partner, just like so. When this occurs, okay, all I'm gonna do and think about is taking my hand and grabbing onto my training partner's shin, just like so. Now, I need to grab by his foot, but the thing is, his leg's there, so I can't. So if I move my leg and then try to grab, there's no disconnection. So even then, I couldn't get where I need to be, and now I'm gonna get swept or off balance. When I grab here, I'm gonna pull my leg away so that my hand can grab where it needs to be, okay? From here, we are gonna proceed into a back step. So all the weight right now should be heavy in my left knee, okay? I don't need my left knee to be reset, okay? I need it to be heavy and on a base. So that way, when I take my right leg and step it behind me, okay, all the pressure goes into my left hip. But notice, when I made the back step play, my head was high. So when I back step, I'm gonna bring my head low, just like so. So I'm staying across from his hips. So I'm pinning and controlling his hips. Like I said, the result of me leaving my knee up has all the weight into my left hip. So when I go to pull my left leg backwards, you're gonna see that his leg pops to the front side of my body, just like so. When that happens, we're gonna run underneath, staple at his hip, and collect a near side underhook as we start the pass. Okay, so now section 2 to our shin pinning passing is our shuffle method. This method is more efficient in my opinion, but it's going to consist with some leg pummeling. So we are also going to work from the extension of the butterfly guard. So he extends, I pummel, and I get into a reset with my hand under. Once I get here, what I'm trying to achieve is the same thing, where I'm grabbing, okay? And on this particular play, I don't have to bring my head down originally like I did before. I can leave my head up. So when I go to shuffle, okay, the speed of the shuffle eliminates me having to bring my head down, okay? So as I go to grab, I shuffle to the left, just normally like I would with the smash pass, where my right leg comes in the middle, and then my left leg comes to the outside of this hip. That allows me to take all the pressure and put it onto his knee here, okay? I love this particular play. It's because my right leg is still perhaps in the middle of both of his legs. So right now, he's still in danger of me getting over his right knee. So when he goes to shoot his right leg in the middle of my leg to catch my right leg for half guard, I pummel up and over, and as he misses, we can use that method to proceed right into a near side underhook pass. Kind of get into more talking about the sweet spot. The sweet spot occurs when my training partner is up on his butt, and if his torso is, in front along with his hips, he has pretty good efficiency in being able to use his legs to extend and so forth. The moment in time that I have my training partner leaning here, okay? Now he's making it so to where he's having to work his torso, but even more importantly, his legs become super inefficient. Okay, so that sweet spot is exactly where we need him to be when we start our body lock passing, but also our shin pinning passing, because here's the thing, is I don't always have to reset my training partner just to go into a shin pin pass. I can also do so from a sweet spot. Now, that sweet spot can naturally occur from a couple of different methods. Number one, maybe he's just using his own torso to keep himself up from falling backwards. Or maybe number two, he takes his arm behind his body to prevent him from falling backwards. Or number three, he could take both arms backwards, which the most unlikely one, but it still happens. When my training partner is not up with his torso to where his torso and his legs can be efficient as far as extending and things of that nature, but I want him to be more so at an angle here to where now he's having to use that torso. And also his legs become really inefficient at this position here. It's not going to be able to extend and do things the same way as if he was in a stable position like so. So that is where we're going with the sweet spot. A couple of methods that keeps him in that sweet spot. Number one, it could be his torso. Maybe he has a strong torso, he can fight resistance. So when I push into him, he uses his torso to push back, okay? Number two could be a single hand post behind him. Number three could be a double hand post behind him. Number three being maybe the most unrealistic, but it still naturally occurs for some people, okay? So we're going to look at this from a default position. He goes to extend me up. I pummel in. Now, from this position, when I go to pummel in, I'm going to start driving back into him. When he takes his left arm and post, okay, now we come into the sweet spot position, okay? When we get into the sweet spot position, all I'm going to do is I'm going to take my hand, I'm going to post. When I go to post here, I'm going to use the method of shuffling. But the thing is about this, since he's in the sweet spot, when we go to shuffle, we have now the opportunity to spin him. The reason why is, stay right there, is if he's in that sweet spot, okay, I can now easily be able to take his legs and start spinning him in a man. The only reason why this is happening is because he's on the ball and joint of his hip, okay? So he's on the higher end of this belt loop, which makes it accessible for his body to spin. If he's forward here and I go to spin him the same way, it's not going to happen. But when he's here, no, don't post. When he's here, he's more likely to start spinning, okay? So when I pummel and he starts to post and becomes in the sweet spot, I grab and I shuffle out. When I shuffle out, I'm not going to drive into him. I'm just going to drive into his torso and his post. Instead, I'm going to use what the sweet spot has provided us, and I'm going to spin him. Punch, underhook, finish. Okay, so the last section for shin pinning is the leg trap. So not to say the other method wasn't good, but for deeper control, for absolute control, the leg trap is a great solution. So we get into our default. He extends, I sag, I pummel, and I get into this play. Okay, I reset him. Something that I can use, okay, is, yes, my V grip here, but I can also use a method to where I'm collapsing under, like so, and I'm grabbing onto his hand. And something that could get us there, because it's almost like, hey, how would that, happen? Well, something that could naturally happen is Jeremy take his hand on my bicep, and he pushes my bicep down and brings his leg up. Then that's when we can start trapping, okay? When we get here, I don't want the shin. You see where his shin is here? I don't want it in the crease of the middle of my bicep. This isn't a strong hold. This is going to make me feel like I'm having to muscle things. If I grab here, all I'm going to do is indent my shoulder to the inside here to where his shin is now in my elbow crease. So I'm deleting all that space and have more of a proper control. And I'm going to put my head down just like so, okay? This gives me a really, really good control with like the inside of my shoulder and bicep area, okay? And including my head and chest. My head goes down, and I'm going to proceed off with the same shuffle method. So I shuffle all the way into his knee, he shoots, I leg pummel over, and now I can start passing with a near side underhook. Okay guys, so we're going to set up the body lock from a no arm perspective. So with that being said, is if we have a body lock with a arm in versus a arm out, we're going to take two primary different grips. So for this section, let's look at if we have a no arm. And when we go to do this particular drill, we are going to do so from him not having double unders, but from him framing. For the concept is, I want to show you guys what it looks like being actually in a scenario where you're body locking with no arms. And so this is the easiest method to get there to show you guys. So when I get default, he frames and he goes to extend me up. When this happens, I'm going to reach around. But when I reach around, make sure that you're cutting all that space off. And you can only really do this by taking your head off the center line. Now I can really start reaching around and deleting all that space. Since I have a no arm in, I'm going to rely on a S grip, okay? Because I'm going to use the mobility of my elbow on this particular play. When I get here and I manage to get into my S grip scenario, I'm going to reset my left knee, okay? Once I do that, I'm going to take my right leg and I'm going to post it out. And ever so slightly, instead of me thinking about resetting my trainer partner, I'm actually going to spin my trainer partner. So I'm not going to reset him to where his knees become vertical. I'm going to spin and reset him off at an angle, just like so, okay? To where my head is all the way up into his chest, and look where his knee is. Look how easier it is for me to get up and over his knee, okay? So if he just bring your left knee up just a little bit. If he starts to bring that left knee up, that's where elbow comes into play. I can use my elbow to start smashing and holding that down so that my right leg comes up and over as I bring it to the middle and switch my head off. Now, we're going to finish this the same way as if we did our smash pass, to where I pummel out, switch my hips. The only difference is when I get into this position is I'm not going to let go of my body lock. It's too impactful. It's too strong, okay? If he goes and decides to shrimp outward, he's going to find it very difficult to do so, okay? So something that oftentimes that we have to troubleshoot is he goes to frame on me here with his stiff arms. That's going to allow me to start reaching under and start collecting near side underhooks to here, okay? So when the time is right and you're ready to progress up into a top side 10, you can very easily take a near side underhook and progress upward. Okay, so for this section now is we're going into our body lock passing with one arm in. The difference would be is our grips. So now since he has a arm in, the position that he has becomes a little bit stronger. So we're going to take a stronger grip into this position. So once again, we're going to go back when he has both double unders from the default. He goes to extend me up. When we get here, we pummel in. Instead of thinking about resetting him, what I'm actually going to think about is body locking him, okay? So this is the difference in the discussion, is if I reset him, I have to battle the knees. But if I can body lock here with a gable grip, so I gable grip here, reset my knee, extend out, and I rotate him here. Now we're in a far better position, okay, to start actually achieving a successful pass. Because how high my head is, where I've eliminated the space where he could stiff arm me, and my knee is very, very achievable of getting up and over his. So when I go to walk to the middle, I can start using scenarios of passing with a body lock. which I'm not going to let go with as I get into this position. Okay, so something that we're going to look at now is off of my training partner extending me up. Something that we can naturally hit is called a posted spin pass. So off of the default position, when Jeremy goes to lift me up, there's going to be a moment in time to where I can take a knee and post it up to disconnect his shin from my leg. At that point, it will make it very accessible for me to push his body in that same direction and turn his hips, since he's in that sweet spot, and for us to pass. So what that kind of looks like is when he goes to lift me up, as soon as we get here, all I'm going to do is take my left hand, I'm going to post on his hip here, and my right hand is going to shove to his knee, just like this. I'm going to open my left leg up, okay, ever so lightly, just like so. So that way there's a disconnection between his shin and the inside of my adductor. From here, since he's in that sweet spot where we're high in on his belt loop, I'm going to take his knee and shove his knees this way, just like so, as I replace the gap and pass. So, one more time.